in the TWAB, they show us the Festival of the Lost ornaments, the mech theme ones. Super excited about these. They mention a few other things like they usually do that happen throughout this week. They have the National Coming Out Day. There's a free transmat effect that you can get as well for this. There's a code. I don't know if they have it posted here, but they have it posted on their socials. Yeah. And here's the thing. They've got a destination materials update. Long story short, they basically say for new players, there's a lot of things for them to learn about Destiny coming in, and they just want to simplify it a bit. So they're literally getting rid of all of the destination materials, and you're gonna just convert them this season if you can, because you'll still be able to convert them at Master Raoul in future seasons, but they will be for significantly less value. So convert things into Ascendant shards, convert things into Glimmer legendary shards this season if you can. Yeah, get rid of these, because what's going to happen is those destination material nodes, you know, the spin metal, the helium filaments, those things, they're still going to be on those planets and those destinations. But when you grab them now instead, oh, actually, they didn't say exactly yet. They mentioned that if you noticed, let's see, as many players may have noticed with the release of Witch Queen, the deposits of fundamental osmium found around Savathun's throne world did not grant a currency, but instead delivered Glimmer, XP, and reputation directly to the player. Though we will not be creating new reputation systems for our previous destinations, we will be working to improve these experiences. So they don't actually tell us exactly, but I suspect, yes, we'll be getting Glimmer XP at the very least. The other thing that they said is, well, now that you can't convert destination materials into Glimmer, you might be wondering, well, how am I going to get Glimmer? And they said that they are, I'm pretty sure it's more than doubling. But with heroic public events and normal public events, for heroic, players can expect to earn between 10,000 and 12,500, and for normal, players can expect to earn between 3,300 and 4,645. Such a specific amount of Glimmer there. And these are without Glimmer boosting mods in your ghosts or anything. So that'll be how you, if you need some Glimmer suddenly, just hop into some public events. Or when you're on destinations and you're heading somewhere, or you're in a strike, maybe do the public event, I guess. Unless you're in Grandmasters, because then that would suck, because you would be under-leveled for the public event. That'd be pretty funny, though. The mid-season weapons tuning. Now, in here, they didn't mention it, but they did mention it on Twitter. Mercules, let's go check it out. All right, right here on Twitter, Mercules confirms that, yes, we will be reducing aim assist on special ammo linear fusion rifles in Season 19. Hopefully, they can reduce the aim assist at the beginning of Season 19. And then based on the flinching changes that they have for snipers that are coming, that they're able to implement that for linear fusion, special linear fusions at least, during that season as well, on top of this, depending on what's needed. Speaking of, I do plan on shooting Lorentz Driver tonight a little bit, so sorry gamers. I gotta get my broken weapon usage in before he gets nerfed, because I always regret it after they get nerfed that I didn't go and take advantage of when those weapons were insane. So I'm gonna do it. In here, they mostly mention for weapon changes that they want to make weapons ease of use better, and they describe what ease of use means, which basically doesn't mean like increasing how fast they kill, but how easy it is to reach their fastest time to kill, which usually means requiring less precision. And so they mentioned auto rifles get used about 25% in PvP. They also mentioned that some of these other high impact and precision frame ones they're already capable of outranging hand cannons, but they don't want them to outrange pulse rifles. And so precision frame auto rifles are going to be getting, well, let me read. I want to make sure I get this information really clearly. Precision frame auto rifles specifically have languished since the Uriel's Gift meta in early Destiny 2. It's true. They were very highly stable. And they did not benefit very much from the change that they mention up here, which is they're going to be increasing the stability on these auto rifles. Yes, a substantial buff to stability for auto rifles. But precision frames, they didn't benefit much from that change. And so they're going to slightly bring up their critical hit multiplier, which combined with the body shot buff from this, or I don't know if it's last season or our current season, basically, it'll put them in a stronger position without directly lowering the optimal time to kill. So increasing the effects of the stability stat on recoil reduction by about 20% at the high end for just in general on auto rifles. And then precision frames, their crit is going to be going up by a 5/100ths. Or that's I shouldn't say that. Precision frames crit damage multiplier will go from 1.5x to 1.55x. Basically 30 to 31. Here's one that hurts a little bit for me, but I understand because it's very insane. Is they're changing the handling of bows. They said that they wanted to reduce the effectiveness of max speed bow swapping as a strategy. Basically, using your bow and quick drawing to a hand cannon or a sidearm to insta-kill people, basically. I have a quick draw Igneous for this very purpose. And they want it to be closer to normal primary weapons time to kill, giving other players the opportunity to fight against this. Increased bow stow duration. It varies based on subfamily and the handling stat. Before, 0 to 100 handling worked with lightweights from 0.4 seconds to 0.2 seconds. And after, it's going to go from 0.45 to 0.3 seconds. Still very, very fast. I think it's still going to be very, very strong. But they mention in here that this is not going to be a massive change. So we'll see how it feels. I'm sure with a lot of my builds, how I've got it all modded out and everything set up, I'm sure it's probably going to feel still really, really good. And it'll actually probably prevent me from doing the mess ups that I do sometimes where I switch so fast that I actually didn't shoot my bow. I don't know how to really explain that other than that, but it happens a lot with me when I'm trying to go too fast with it. The other thing they're going to be doing is with pulse rifles, they're going to be rebalancing the effect of the handling stat. And they're increasing the effects of handling by 5% at the high end, mostly affects lightweight and adaptive frame pulses. And they are going to reduce the effects of handling by 2% at the low end, which mostly affects high impact and rapid fire frames. So from what I understand here is that high impact frames and rapid fire frames, they're going to be not handling quite as easily, and lightweights and adaptives will handle slightly better. They're reducing the range fall off stat based on the range stat, so from basically 1 meter. And rapid fire frames rifles, basically only the peace of mind, its base zoom is going to be reduced from 19 to 18 because it's a little too crazy. The zoom pushes its range out further than other rapid fires, and it's a little too crazy. One thing that is crazy here as well, I think, is that adaptive frame pulse rifles, they're increasing the precision multiplier from 1.6x to 1.65, and so the crit goes from 30.4 to 40 or 30. The crit damage goes from 30.4 to 31.4, and they say this allows the weapon to kill guardians below tier 4 resilience with 6 crits, basically 2 full bursts of complete accuracy. Now, there's a decent amount of guardians in the Crucible that run just 30 resilience, especially if they want max mobility and max recovery It happens. I'm usually almost always trying to have 6 resilience or more, but I do run a build that has 30, so I could get 2 tapped from an adaptive pulse with no buffs. That's actually crazy. They're also reducing their buff on high impact scout rifles, yeah, from last season. So they're reducing the body shot from 42 to 40, and they're reducing the crit from 73.5 to 70. A little bit unfortunate, because you're not going to be able to 2 headshot 1 body anybody for any reason. Whereas before you were able to 2 headshot 1 body, really low resiliences. Oh yeah, sidearms. That's right. Sidearms have long had substantially less auto aim compared to damage range. A decision made many moons ago. With the removal of the auto aim fall off bonus from rangefinder, what they said is that basically sidearms with rangefinder should feel the same as they did before in game, but sidearms without rangefinder will feel notably better. They are increasing the auto aim fall off distance by 30% across the board. I'm excited to see how this feels. They said it should feel particularly good on M&K, which is where I'm at. So I'm excited for that. SMGs, they have a little bit of some changes here on SMGs too. That's right. They're reducing the base damage on lightweights from 11 to 10.85 and the crit from 18.2 to 17.9. I haven't done the math here yet, but I'm sure that it's going to maybe require 1 more precision than usual for a significant amount of resiliences. We'll see. They're reducing the zoom of Shayura's Wrath and friction fire from 16 to 15 to make it more in line with the rest. And they are making precision frame SMGs also increasing the base damage from 16 to 17. And the crit goes from 22.4 to 23.8. Interesting there as well. So the lightweights go down just a hair, the precisions go up just a hair, but the crazy precisions lose 1 in their zoom. Precision frame fusion rifles, they've been crazy ever since Xur sold the insane main ingredient. Precision frame fusion rifles, their strength was just realized suddenly. And so now they're reducing the effect of the intrinsic precision frame perk on recoil direction by 50% for fusion rifles only. So I don't know how crazy that's going to be. But you know, if there are other players that are anything like me, they read this and then when the patch goes out, they just don't touch the fusion rifle. They just assume it sucks and then they don't touch it for a long time. I really feel like a lot of people do that, because I definitely do that. Like when they said that they increased how much flinch Lorentz Driver was going to be receiving, after that, I just didn't use Lorentz Driver, and I still haven't, even though it's apparently it's still insane. So I'm gonna go use it tonight. All right, here's a good change, even though I'm a little bit sad about it because I am a glaive user. They are reducing the glaive shield damage resistance versus players from 75 to 50, which should be just fine. 25% is a lot to lose, but they had a lot of damage resistance. And so it'll be interesting to see how this is. This is basically what Risk Runner was at with sniper rifles. They've increased the settle time after receiving flinch by 60%. So basically what they described is when you get flinched, your aimer goes off and then an automatic mechanic in the game like brings it back down, but they're reducing that settle time by 60%. Or not reducing, they're increasing the settle time by 60%. So after you get flinched, I'm curious to see how that feels. Hopefully it's as strong as it sounds. They are also reducing the flinch in PvE because they don't want to affect PvE here. They say that a similar change to linear fusion rifles will also be made in Season 19. Trace rifles. In here, they basically mentioned that there's not much they can do to make them have a higher TTK or a faster TTK because they would basically feel like super insane like SMGs with Rampage already active that have insane range. But they said that they don't want it to feel like, what is it? They said something so funny in here. Yeah, they don't want it to feel like a recoiling Ghostbusters proton pack. They want it to feel more like laser beams. And so they're increasing the effect the stability stat has on recoil reduction at the low end and at the high end by a max of 25%. So I think that should be good. I haven't used trace rifles in PvP in a very long time. And with rocket launchers, they're increasing the blast radius by almost 0.5 meters across the board. So pretty cool there. Gutshot Straight is getting the audio activation removed. Rangefinder is removing the additional 20% bonus on aim assist fall off, which just made it so insane. Jade Rabbit is getting its aim assist reduced by 20. Lord of Wolves is getting its reduced aim down sight accuracy penalty from 10x to 3x. So basically it's going to not have as much of a bonus when ADSing as it currently does. Removing the 20, this is while Release the Wolves is active, by the way. They're removing the 25% universal base damage buff. They're adding a 40% additional PvE damage buff. And they removed the 50% crit hit multiplier penalty. What? That sounds weird. And they've added full auto to it, so you can accidentally waste a little bit more ammo than you intended, I think. We'll see how that actually works. If the full auto forces a full 5-round burst out of it, or if it just becomes like a full auto. Like it's a special ammo auto rifle, basically. We'll see how that works out. Whew, all right, no time to explain. They explain all these stats in here about how it's used so much, not as much on controller, but it does account for 29.9% of all pulse rifle usage in PvP. So they are reducing the recoil direction stat from 90 to 73, and they're reducing the aim assist from 45 to 40. I think that was basically about all they could do. And the gun will probably still be really good. We'll see. For Risk Runner, they're finally doing it. This is only for PvP. They are reducing the damage resistance from Arc Conductor from 50 to 15. Honestly, Risk Runner was just going to be annoying for the rest of the time in PvP, but at least they're still giving it something here, 15%. That's still going to be nice. I think that's what Omni Oculus is at right now. So, in PvP, that is. Whoo! Future items. In addition to the items mentioned in last week's TWABs, we wanted to make a note of a few more things we are looking at tuning at sometime next season, not necessarily at launch, though. Special ammo linear fusion rifles, Lorentz Driver and Arbalist, basically. Auto aim reduction on these things, and flinch tuning on these linear fusion rifles. Machine gun balancing. They want them to be better in PvP. They want to reduce the difference between them and other heavy weapons in PvE. That sounds interesting. And they want to make them less punishing to use for ad clearing. I don't know how they're going to do both of those. That'll be interesting. And this is really exciting. They're removing the damage penalty to Dead Man's Tell when it's at 5 stacks of Cranial Spike. That is so good, because if you accidentally ramped up your Dead Man's Tell and then its damage went down, then you stopped 3-tapping people. It was unfortunate. So I think that's mostly what we want to talk about in here today. They've got some known issues. Hopefully, Falcon's Haubrick comes back on Tuesday. I think it does. Hopefully, they get the duality fixes out. They've got all the art here. If you guys want to check out any of these, you know where to find it.